I'm going to speak today about Yamadori, obviously, but yeah, let's talk about the soil. I think this is an interesting topic, where the trees are growing in, and it's also a little bit controversial. Yeah, well, there are different philosophies, I think. What do you do after collecting the trees usually? Maybe you have the biggest problems here, 10 years.
I put them in a wooden box.
You put them in a wooden box, okay. And then what? What do you fill them up with? Gravel and akadama? Okay, and what do you do with the wooden box? You put them in the shade, on a shelf or somewhere? Or on a shelf? Or on the ground? Or
Not on the ground, a little bit up.
a little bit up, okay, okay. Yeah. And I want to look with you today at the development of soils and the development of the evolution of plants in general. Yeah. So when we look back a couple of million years, yeah, so at the Earth, so there was some kind of rocks, yeah, and water. If we go that far back, huh? And we think about the first plants. What were the first plants that appeared on Earth? Sorry? In the water, yeah, in the water. All life began in the water, I guess, yeah. What were the first plants? Anybody? No? Algae, yeah. Simple, huh? Okay, good. 10 points for him. Yeah, so he's on the leaderboard. Okay, good. Well, then what happened? What happened after? What were the first plants that conquered the land, and what was there on the land? There were mainly, this guy knows because he works with it, only rocks, huh? Only rocks. There was nothing that we would call soil today, yeah? Only rocks, right? See, so what were the first plants that appeared on these rocks? Mosses, yeah, maybe even before that, but similar to them. Lichens, yeah. Lichens are, what are they? Just, yeah. Symbiosis of, yeah, half mushroom and algae and mushroom, yeah, some kind of symbiosis of these two very simple life forms, yeah, and they started to conquer the land. Okay, so what happened? What did they do with the rocks that they found there?
They eroded them.
Yeah, they eroded them, huh? And which part of them eroded them? The fungus or the algae? Can algae erode rocks? You know, anyone knows the algae that erodes rock? No? No. They come from the water, so obviously it's the fungus, yeah? The fungus erodes the rock to give the nutrients to the algae, and the algae in turn makes photosynthesis to feed the fungus, okay? So interesting. Okay, what comes after these erosion and the influence of the wind and the weather? What happens to the rocks?
Finer.
Yeah, it becomes finer and finer and finer. Suddenly we have some smaller particles. What comes after to live in these small particles of soil? What is it? Is it immediately there is a maple growing, right? No? What is it? No, not a beech either. No. What lives in these tiny rocks that we have now? Mosses, yeah, also, but bacteria, yes. But what kind of plant? Grasses, yeah, and the things that we call these days weeds, yeah. Our beloved weeds grow in there, yeah. So that was what they were, if we want to say it like this, designed for. They were designed to grow in these fine rocks, yeah. And what was their task there? What did they do? What do the weeds do in these rocks? Nobody ever think about it? Why they are there? Why they are in our bonsai pots? No? What's the purpose of all life? What's the goal? What's the goal of life? Anybody know the goal of life? Reproduce, yeah. So, yeah, okay. It's a good goal for you, Oscar. Yeah, I'll take a note. Yeah. Okay. Now, finally, what's the end line of life? The finish line? Death. Okay. So they live and they die there. How long does a weed live normally? Not so long, huh?
7 months.
Several months, yeah. So they live and they die there. What happens when they die there? Yeah, they become something that we call, well, soil is a wide word. Nobody, what is it, soil, this strange thing?
Material.
Organic material.
Fertilizer.
Yeah. Fertilizer, is it not the same, fertilizer and organic material, huh? Maybe, huh? There are so many things that many of you and even we are not clear about it, okay? Good, so, anyways, they live there and they die there. Some of these things, the dandelions, you know the dandelions, what do? They have really long roots, huh? They even go deep into the rocky parts and break up even more some of the smaller particles of the stones, yeah? And then they live and they die there, they live happily and they die, they live happily and they die, and then there accumulates some kind of organic matter. And with this organic matter, what else happens? We get an evolution within that organic matter of the bacteria that live there and the fungi that live there, and the composition changes, yeah? And you ever hear about the saying that in 1 teaspoon of soil, how many bacteria and microbial life is in there, yeah? Sorry? Millions, yeah, even more. Some say that there is even more in 1 teaspoon than people are on Earth today, yeah? So whatever is the number, I am honest, I don't know. It's a lot, yeah, it's a lot. There is a lot going on in that teaspoon of soil that we are not really aware of, yeah? Okay, so after this happens, someday we get the first trees. Yeah, what are first trees that grow on rocky areas, maybe on slight slopes? What are these first trees? Bushes, yeah, also, yeah. But let's talk about trees. Birch, yeah, for example, yeah. And how long does the birch live, for example? Around 80 years, more or less, yeah, if it's happy, yeah. So is it a long time or a short time for a tree to live 80 years? Really short, yeah. So we can again think about it and say, okay, it's a short-term life, but so it reaches the finish line early, yeah, and it produces even more, once again, organic mass. And what's the difference in the organic mass that a tree produces compared to what a weed produces? What is the difference between a tree?
It's harder, it stays longer.
It's harder. What makes it harder?
The carbon.
The carbon, yes. What does it do with the carbon compared to a dandelion or another grass? It produces what we call wood. Yeah, wood. What is the main component of wood? It's cellulose. Yeah. And this is what even more feeds fungus, yeah? It feeds fungus. This is the main food source of fungus if you want, or it becomes a main food of a certain type of fungus. And this again helps to evolve the soil. And some many million years later, the first long-living tree appears on that place where there was before only rocks. Okay, what is a long-living tree, for example? A pine, a linden, or an oak, yeah? So there is this whole history and evolution, a co-evolution of the soil with the tree to support the tree actually standing where you see it, okay? It's not like snap and the tree is there. You put the seed there and it's there. No, if we go to the mountains or in the nature, there is a long history supporting the tree standing where it stands, okay? So, and when we are honest, we really have, until today, at least to my knowledge, I don't know all the things that are happening in the soil, yeah, to support this life. we don't really understand what is happening here. What is happening in the soil, the ecosystem of the microbial life that interacts and exchanges all the time with the trees. So if we go to the mountains and we collect Yamadori, we take them out, and what we collect actually is the microbiology that is around the tree, because it doesn't happen to be there. It has been there before the tree, and it supported the tree. So if you take it out, you're actually collecting a piece of microbiology. And if the microbiology survives the process of collection, then it's a natural consequence that also the tree will survive. Okay, you have to also see it from that standpoint. And a big question that always gets asked is, do you remove all this mountain soil? Yeah. So if we know the history of this co-evolution of soil and tree, and that it has been good for the tree for so long, some of the Yamadori we see are centuries old, and the soil has supported their life for centuries, then think about it, if it's a good idea to remove it, and if it's a good idea to think we can now replace it with something that is better. Yes? Well, I don't know enough to give an advice to what to do, yeah, but let's just see these facts and admit that we don't know, or I don't know. Let's speak only of me. I don't know. I don't know enough, so I pay more attention, and the state of I don't know is a great opportunity, and it makes things exciting again. Yeah. So I almost pity the fool who thinks he knows everything, because life must be really boring. Yeah, I don't know is a great, exciting opportunity to pay more attention to what we are doing. Yeah? Okay, so that's more or less the message I've prepared for you today. I hope it helps you to see bonsai in a wider spectrum. This is a huge and exciting topic, and yeah, please, if you have any questions, I have to open the round. Yes, Oscar.
You began the lecture with asking all of us how we
Yeah.
collecting and aftercare. Can you tell me what you do?
Yeah, now we know that this kind of aftercare works, because the microbiology, of course, survives in a moist and it needs the moisture, yeah. But I like to keep the collected trees on the ground now, because this way, with a direct connection to the ground, the microbiology surrounding in your surroundings can also enter the pot from the drainage holes and support the life of the tree. Yeah, you see this very often when you collect a tree and you put it on the ground. You remove it after 1 year and you see all this white mycelium where the tree was standing. Yeah, so this is a sign of the constant exchange that happens. The exchange that happens between everything that's alive, even. Yeah, what we inhale, the trees exhale, and what we exhale, the trees inhale. Yeah, most of the times we are not really aware of that fact, of the constant exchange that's happening around us and that's happening everywhere. Yeah. Okay. Any more questions?
Collect the tree. What do you do after you come home?
Right after I come home with the tree, yeah, I try to do as much as I can to keep the microbiology alive. So knowing that some trees like to depend on a fungus more than others, I try to feed the fungus as much as I can by adding wood chips, for example. Not just this bare soil, this very primitive soil, let's say, that was there in centuries, eons ago, which also promotes the growth of wheat. Yeah, and all this time I was looking at my Yamadori and I was wondering, why are there so many weeds? Yeah, well, because this is their job. It's their job to occupy these spaces with these gravel-like soil, yeah, and to add more organic matter to this soil so that the soil can proceed in its succession to become more organic, more supportive of higher life forms. Yeah.
What kind of wood?
Okay. That's it. Thank you.